Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Geek Show for July 19, 2019. I'm your host, Scott Alden, also known as Aldi on Board Game Geek, Twitter, all those things. And I am once again joined by my lovely co-hosts, Linka Damerst, Steph Hodge, W. Eric Martin. How's everybody doing?
Hi.
Great.
Hey, everybody.
Doing well.
Doing great.
I was worried it wasn't going to be lovely there for a second.
Oh, you're always lovely, Eric. It feels like we were just here. Like my time dilation is increasing or decreasing. I don't know what.
But hopefully you're feeling
means.
better.
I'm feeling better, yeah. I finally have kicked the stupid Origins crap, and now we are basically going to Gen Con in a few days, I guess a week, next week. Yeah. Week after next, something like that. Very soon enough. July something. But yeah, it's speeding up, and we're hard at work working on another project, which I think we announced, called the Cardboard Caravan, which is the system, pre-order system, applied to being able to pick up games you order from Essen to pick them up at BGG Con and other conventions. So
Sweet.
Me and Chaz have been working on that and been trying to figure out the problems that has brought. Oh, you can also direct mail. I don't know if that was announced, actually. So you can order it and it'll be mailed to you from Funnigan.
Yes.
So I thought that's kind of cool. So it's all in that one giant preview. Speaking of previews, Eric, the Gen Con preview, I think, is up to 520 something.
It's around that. The submissions have seemed kind of slow relative to past years, and I don't know whether it's just people have got in titles earlier than normal, or it's just this is the normal lull, and I'm not really noticing it because I'm already moving ahead to the Spiel preview, which has more than 100 titles so far, and I got a few more weeks to get that ready. But the Gen Con one, yes, 520
500
something.
Seems good. I mean, that seems like a lot.
Well, I guess the question is, how does it compare to last year?
Last year we had 630. So it suggests that we have not heard from many people. I have pinged several publishers that I have not heard from where I know they're going to have something, and I need to go through the list again and just make one last request, try to get something in there. So I just added today level 99 games, for example. Gnade Games from the Netherlands will have a couple of their Spiel releases for demo. Cool. Yeah, little things being added all the time.
Right. Well, I went through and pre-ordered a bunch of stuff. I pre-ordered Parks.
Yay.
And I pre-ordered, what else did I pre-order? I pre-ordered Boomerang. I don't know if the game
from Grail Games.
Grail Games, right.
Yeah.
So we got some games to pick up. We're also going to be in the Hot Games room. We're going to be at booth 1349. Is that correct? I think that's correct.
Yes.
Yes, 1349. We'll be live streaming the whole time, and we're going to have a massive booth. So please come by with lots of things. Bits, the Quackspix should be there. I hope.
Yay.
Don't hold me to it. We're hoping them to be there. Unfortunately, I don't want to do pre-orders for Quackspix because we may not have them there. So sort of a double. We created this pre-order system in case, but we can't use it because we don't know if we're going to have them in time. We're really to the wire on the Quackspix, so I know people have really been wanting those, but they will be here soon in the store.
We've also brought in some others early too, if they show up correct, right?
That's bits. The early ones, yeah. In fact, I think things are coming this week. That's the plan is things are being delivered this week, so we will have them in time to take to Gen Con.
Very cool.
With all these new items, we get to be like a publisher. Last minute arrivals. Don't know if something's going to be there in time. Everything's down to the wire. Trying to get stuff ready.
We're also going to have a bunch of new t-shirts.
8 different designs.
Yeah, that's a lot of designs. So come buy a t-shirt, please.
That's exciting.
I'll try to get the designs up before they arrive. I mean, that's another one of those things that it's going to come like at the very last minute.
And they're all the new design.
And this is all new branding. All the new Board Game Geek branding, which I know no one has seen yet. Today was supposed to be the launch day. I apologize. I jumped the gun on that. It is not ready. We are going to do it after Gen Con. So hopefully, it's just a couple weeks. So apologies to people that were expecting that to come out on Monday, July 15th, which was not in the books for us. So sorry about that, everybody. Anything else about Gen Con we should talk about? I think we got the Hot Games room still, tickets, daytime tickets, nighttime tickets, not so much. I should also mention that we are not going to take generics at night. It's just too sold out.
Say that. Yeah, it's too difficult for the night ones.
Now, I know in the past we have taken generics like a half an hour after the event starts. We're still probably debating that. I would not count on it. I don't want anybody to show up thinking they can get in with generics. So you really have to have the ticket. Generics could be used to our, as we feel. Like if we feel like there's room in the room.
On your discretion.
On my discretion.
Yes.
So our discretion. It's team job. So, of course, Doris has the final say there. So if Doris will allow it, then we'll allow it. But don't count on it. Sorry. Get a ticket. Come early in the day. There's plenty of tickets during the day. It's going to be wide open. So
we don't want to get busted by the fire marshals. You got to run strict operation. And we had instances last year where we let in people with generic tickets, and then people with the actual ticket showed up, and you have to let them in.
Yeah.
So we have to be sure to stay under proper attendance count.
Plus, we'll all be there, so you can come visit us. Every evening, I think almost every single one of us will be there. So it should be a lot of fun. Everybody should come and play some games with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a ticket. That is.
If you have a ticket.
Cool. All right. So let's move on to our favorite segment, and everybody else's favorite segment, I think. I don't know. Could be just making that up. But what have you been playing, Lincoln? Start us off.
I've been playing Rail Pass by Ref Tom Green. I think we've all played this game in prototype. It's basically it's a puzzle game where you're trying to sort cubes. And you have 6 cities on the board. And they each have a position for 2 trains, and you have obstacles that prevent you from just going to every position. You have to pass through other people. They can only hold 1 train in each hand. You only have space for 2 trains, and you're trying to take all the cubes. That you have a big mix of random. I think you have. It's not random cubes, but the way it sorts is there's a S track on the top of each city's board, and you can only select cubes from each end. So you're putting things not in the correct train to go the right area, and the deal is it's a puzzle to determine how quickly and well you can sort the games, and you're only as good as your weakest link. And in our episode, that person was Dave. I wasn't so great on that second game either, because we played the first one I think twice, where with the positions we had, then we're like, let's change it up, and oh my gosh, it was terrible. But the game's really fun. It's truly a neat puzzle, and it's an amazing production with nice trains, and the cubes are all really nice. And it's fun. We've totally seen it in various stages from Steve, and it's really quite a great game. His real name's Steve.
Yeah, it's evolved over many years in several different forms of game, but it's always been trains, right? I think.
Yeah.
I think it's basically been this, but yeah, you have when you pass stuff off, you have to hand it to them essentially, and if you can't leave anything on the table, so you have to hold whatever you're getting. And there's obstacles like a tunnels. There's a train trestle or whatever that you pass it through, and then a bridge, and then there's potentially a few arches that you have to pass it through, and you can't just leave it there. The person has to be ready to accept it. You have to go toot toot when you're ready to pass something.
You forgot one of the important parts, that it's a speed game.
Oh yeah, you have 8. I think 8 minutes is. We might have been playing it at 10. I don't know. I think we were giving ourselves a break too. You have to do it within a certain amount of time, and you have to play a lot to get fast, I think, in that game, because everybody has to be functioning, and people that are stuck you just have to help them along, like, hey, take that train, you know what I mean? Instead of going, dude, you got these trains, come on, we got to get moving here, and it doesn't help them at all. It's
all
easy
while
to get
watching your
brain
conductor.
locked.
You have to watch where your conductors are, because they can't go too far.
Yeah, they can only go one base away, and they have to rest. You have to put them aside for other people so that you can move. And it's impossible. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly play that game efficiently. It is insane, but it really is quite a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the world's most intricate cube sorter. Right? Everything starts out random, and then at the end of the game, everything's sorted.
Theoretically.
Hopefully.
Yeah, if you can finish, right? I think when I played with Steph, we did pretty well, as I recall. We were but you can adjust the time to basically to your speed, right? Like and honestly, like fewer players is easier.
I think we would need a half an hour.
Half an hour.
I had no problem controlling so I was controlling one port, but it was a harder port because you have to manage with 3 different people. So.
Oh yeah, you were in the middle. Yeah.
The one we did was a slightly different one. Ours was essentially kind of an S, and there was blocks in between the person that manned 2 cities. Oh, so you couldn't pass back and forth between those. So it's, I think
so it had to go a long way.
I believe it is the recommended setup. So you have to go to the right for one person, then through the bridge and then around, or to the other end on the other person. And it's just, it is very challenging.
I'm not sure if we mentioned it's cooperative.
Oh yeah, I don't think we did mention it.
Maybe that was obvious from our description.
I think it was clear.
Yeah.
It's a cooperative logic puzzle.
It is really neat.
Speed-ish.
Really beautiful. They did a really nice job on the production. I mean, it's Mercury Games, right? It's got the cool resin pieces and everything, and it really turned out nice.
And I know in that edition, Mercury Games, I got to play it too with Steve at BGG Con, and they have little stickers if you get really good at the game. Where you where you can make it even harder.
That's this right here, right? So I'm sure in the video on playing the game, people are going to be confused because they're going to see those cubes. But yes, we did not play with those. I will tell you that now. It is too
really hard.
It restricts the space.
But yeah, fantastic design.
Well, I'm super happy for Steve finally getting the game out. Yeah,
me too. He's got another game that he really that he designed a while back that I thought was really good, but nobody ever picked it up. It's thematically, it's probably a bit of a challenging theme as far as people being interested in it. But this one's really fun, and I think you're the one, Scott, that recommended.
I was.
That he show it to Mercury Games, and they picked it up right away.
I won't take any credit for it, though. The game is awesome.
Oh no, I thought you were getting a percentage. Wait, what?
yeah, for sure. No, I don't need a percentage. I want Steve to get all his money.
All the glory and money.
Make him rich. Yes, glory.
What have you been playing, Steph?
Oh gosh, I've been playing, I have a couple games. I hope that's okay, because one of them is pretty short. It's a roll and write coming out called Kingdomino Duel. Most of you probably have played Kingdomino.
Yep.
This is a roll and write drafting dice game to fill in your board, much like Kingdomino. So you're going to have to place the same way, but you're drafting these dice and it's only a duel. So it's a 2-player only. So I have it right here, actually. And
super small.
You have this board. Of course, I had to go out and buy colored pencils and markers, and all my boards are like beautiful. And so you're trying to make these big regions on your board and scoring them like you would in Kingdomino. Or Kingdomino. I've always said it wrong, but I've been corrected, so Kingdomino.
Really?
Domino. Is that like Dinamite?
Yeah. So it's really good. You could just go, I brought it to lunch, you just play it out in the wild, but you're drafting one die. So the person who rolls gets to pick one, the other person gets to pick 2, and you get left with the last one, and you have to make it like a domino, and then put it onto your board. So, and I know it already sold out on the Gen Con preview.
Yeah, it already sold out at the Gen Con preview. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I heard that. Anyway.
I wanted to grab it after I saw you talking about it, and it's not there.
It's dice. So you're rolling these dice and you're drafting one side of your domino and then the other side of your domino.
Ah.
So they're not actual dominoes, they're
right.
dice, which is why.
And they're the same terrains like the forest and the
They're actually, it's different. It's they use shields, so you'll be marking them with like symbols on these shields. So it's a little different, but it's the same idea. So you're still collecting the different terrain types, which are different shields that you're trying to pair up and get big regions. And instead of crowns, they're going to just be X's. So you get to multiply by how many X's you've collected in that region. But if you know Kingdomino, then you'll be familiar with this. I would say. Yeah. Oh, here are all my pencils and markers that I had to go out and buy because color.
Yeah.
They just come with.
Is that designed by Bruno Cathala?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes other people design in the space.
That's true.
Not on Bruno's games.
Yeah.
He'll take you out.
He's protective.
So I would definitely recommend that if you are a fan of the genre of roll and write or Kingdomino. I think it's
Domino, as you say.
Kingdomino. The other one I just wanted to touch point on was Zombie Kidz Evolution.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody's heard or got to try this.
I love
One
it.
player here has edited the rule book.
Oh.
I will just casually mention that.
I did not know that.
In case you need rulebook editing.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right.
This game is awesome. I don't even like zombies. I try to avoid zombies at all costs.
I mean, that's a good idea. They're dangerous.
They are. They're really scary, and I don't really play zombie games. However, these are kind of cute zombies, so I gave an exception.
And they're little kids fighting them, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. They're in a school trying to ward off those zombies. And as you play the game, you're creating these you're completing these missions, and you have your little passport with all these mission goals, and you get to put stickers. And the faster you do your missions, the faster you'll advance and open up new envelopes, which might make zombies more powerful, which might make you more powerful, which might give you more missions. I mean, you are progressing, and the story goes on, and you get more rules, and it's a really cool kids campaign game, like legacy game.
Is this a legacy game?
It is. It's the first kids legacy game.
It's a kids.
How come that's not on the marketing?
It is.
I didn't even know.
They've talked about it a little.
Exactly.
Oh, did they? Okay.
It's kind of flown under the radar. I didn't know about it until I saw it at Origins, and I'm just like, what is this? This is amazing.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I want to get it.
I'm sure if I was a kid playing this game, I would have loved it. You know, it's definitely a family game. You'll just want to sit there and play the whole thing with them. It's so good.
How long does a mission take?
Oh, it's like 5-10 minutes, unless you.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's not long. If you fail, you'll still advance your track. So even if you do fail like 5 games in a row, you will be advancing that track. But if you do succeed, you'll advance it double the speed. So I'm only like a third of the way through because I failed a few games.
Well, I heard that the real weak link of the game was the rule book. It's supposedly really terrible. I don't know. It's one of those games.
Rules are really easy.
But I heard the rule book screwed it up, so I don't know. Don't hire Eric. That's all I'm telling you. It's not true.
Not true. So it's lots of fun. I can't recommend it more.
What have you been playing, Eric?
I have been playing Horrified, among other things, a new title by Ravensburger and Prospero Hall. And that combination seems to be everywhere. With the recent release of Jaws, covered on game nights. I did a video as well. With Villainous, which came out last year and had an expansion and had another expansion just announced yesterday. If you're watching the video.
And the Kenny G game. Come on, Kenny G game.
That's not from Ravensburger, though.
That's true.
The combination of the two come together for lots of different things. And they have taken the Universal Monster license. You can see all the familiar people here. Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, is this under license?
Oh, nice.
Yes, it is.
Oh, nice.
Just called Frankenstein here, and the Bride, and the Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Invisible Man, Dracula. All these characters are in here.
Where's the Invisible Man?
I got you.
That's right. So all these monsters are in your town, and you work together with all the other people in the game to try to rid your town of those monsters. So it's a cooperative game for 1 to 5 players. So they have separate solo rules, or you just play with 2 to 5 players. You each represent a character that has a special power. And on a turn, you take your turn. You take up to as many actions as your character can take. You're going to walk around town. You're going to pick up items. You're going to complete tasks. You are going to try to save villagers. And then the monsters go, where the monsters are represented by a deck. And on the deck, each monster card tells you the number of items that are added to the board, which go in specific locations. One of the monsters gets some ability, but if that monster isn't in play at the time, well, then nothing happens, which is good. Otherwise, it takes effect. And then at the bottom, it has like a fight line for which monsters advance on the board. So it's a mix-up. You can just use any combination of monsters and then use that same deck, and you'll get a real varied sense of play based on which monsters are in play at the time, because you have to do different things to defeat each monster. So to defeat Dracula, you have to go to the 4 locations where his coffins are, destroy the coffins, and then go fight Dracula himself.
Okay.
And with the werewolf, you have to place particular items in the laboratory in order to get the cure, and then deliver the cure to the monster. With Frankenstein and the Bride, you have to make them more human by giving them particular items.
That
and
human?
Once both of them are humanized, they will meet and they will go off together and live happily ever after. So you can lose the game a number of different ways. One is on the terror track. Each time one of the people dies, well, they don't really die. They have to go to the hospital, and the terror track advances. If a villager is eliminated or killed or whatever, then the terror track advances, and if that goes all the way up to the end, then you lose the game. The other way to lose is if you run out of the monster deck. So that's your clock for the game. You have at most 31 turns. And if you run out of time, then you lose. So it's highly varied. They have an introductory scenario, use the creature from the Black Lagoon and Dracula, and then you can advance any 2 monsters, then 3 monsters, 4 monsters, and you just add more trouble to the board. So.
Is the sequel going to be called Horrifying, where you are at? It's now you're playing the monsters and you want to beat the humans?
Well, that would be awesome. You think you should have a Disney crossover with Villainous?
That's what I was thinking.
Horrified Villainous. I'm sure the IP holders would love to do that. Yes.
Probably not.
Yeah, Disney was.
Those are separated, even though they're Ravensburger. They're not really Ravensburger. One of them's Wonderforge, so they're truly separated by brand too.
Well, the newest editions of Villainous are actually from Ravensburger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they give up on Wonderforge?
No, Wonderforge is still owned by Ravensburger and the division there, but they just moved it under a different brand. That's all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just because it's going international, maybe they didn't initially plan to go international with it.
Maybe so, because there is going to be a German edition of Villainous. So
yeah. What have you been playing, Scott?
Can I do a twofer?
Oh my gosh, you're the one that wanted to go quickly.
I know I wanted a quick game, or a quick show, but I'll be very quick because I'm super excited about both these games. They've been making me think about them a lot. First one is Set a Watch by, I think it's Rock Manor Games. Which is a hidden gem. Like if you don't have this game and you like fighting monsters with classic, fantasy character tropes, this is the game.
Are we hearing the same thing here? Is this the same game?
I guess there's infinite amounts of these games, right? In infinite worlds. So
fighting monsters.
But this one is interesting. It's called Set a Watch because 3 of the 4 characters in the game have to fight the monsters at night while one person gets to go sleep.
Oh.
Right? Which is cool because one person has to sit out of every round. Although when you're at camp, you do a whole bunch of different camp stuff, right? So you're doing camp stuff. You're chopping firewood to make the fire bigger so you can see more monsters coming. You can heal people. You can scout the map to see where you're going, like because it's so cool. Like you draw your next location off a deck that changes like your fire level, spawns certain number of monsters, has a special ability. You can scout ahead. You can banish things. There's a thing called the Horde. So at the end of the game, after you get to the final destination, the Horde comes and attacks you, which could be like 20 monsters. By the way, on the last mission, everybody's awake. So you get to fight. All characters get to fight. You always play with 4.
When you said camp, I thought you were meaning can't go into camp, and it was Camp Set a Watch, right? I don't know.
Camp Set a Watch. Well, the watch is the 3 people killing the monsters, and I know. I'm back home sleeping. You can only sleep twice, right? So every character has to rest twice. So it's really cool. And you have the major character tropes of fantasy stuff like rogue, fighter, mage, cleric.
That kind of fantasy stuff. I get it.
Yeah, those kind of fantasy things. So I love it. And I want more of it. We were complaining last night that a lot of times the big giant Kickstarters with like 1 million add-ons come and we don't have time to play all through the content, or sometimes it's not as interesting as we want it to be and we just move on. But Set a Watch we've been like pulling it out now every time. So Set a Watch, need more stuff. Set a Watch. But it's weird, right? Like, yeah,
that's right. You have to tell Mike that at Gen Con.
Yes,
go into his booth.
We need more set watches.
Grab his collar and start shaking him.
Yep,
publishers like that.
But it's really grabbed us. The thing I love about it is it's very like mathematical. You roll dice, you see your dice, you figure out how to best apply it and in what orders. Like some monsters, when they appear, they'll like steal a dice, or when they get to the front of the line, they'll do something nasty. So you have to decide which one to kill for. Super cool. I love it. Anyway, I highly recommend it. Second one I wanted to quickly talk about, even though there's a lot to talk about, is PAX Pamir 2nd Edition, which was PAX Pamir from Sierra Madre, Phil Eklund design. Super complicated, very deep game. Cole Wehrle took it from Root, you know that guy? And I think his brother helped, and they streamlined it. and they've turned it into a really fantastic game that I love. Even though I don't like conflict games, it still works for me. So what you do is you are in control. Well, you can change your alliance. There's 3 armies in the game. There's the British, the Russians, and the Afghans fighting over Afghanistan. Now, you don't control those armies unless you are affiliated with them. And you can switch your affiliations very quickly in the game. So if you see the British starting to like overpower the area, you can switch. And then you're like, oh, I'm British now. But so it's sort of akin to like the way they were describing it on their playthrough video was it's shares in a train company. Right. And then whoever has like the most shares is in control and gets the most points out of that. So it's super interesting. All the characters, all the historical is there. And you're drafting cards. It's a card drafting game. You're managing your money so you can buy cards that it's a draft. So like the higher up the chain, they're more expensive, but you might need it at that moment. So you have to pay more money. It's a closed economy. So all the money in the economy stays so money goes on cards. When you take the card, you get the money. There's a couple things that bring more money into the game, but you could get into a really tough spot if you spend too much money. I love that. Pax Pamir 2nd edition. It's even if you, and I'm a very Care Bear gamer, but I do like this one, even though there's there's assassins in the game, which can kind of screw people over. But,
did you say Care Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't like those TAC games.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Like, take that.
Yeah. I've never heard it referred to that. I don't know.
It's a Rado term.
Okay.
He's Care Bear.
Okay.
Thank you, Rado, for the term.
So when does this actually take place? What's the historical setting of the game?
So it's referred to in history as the Great Game, and it started in 1830, and it went all the way to 1895. So it's almost a complete century of fighting over Afghanistan and control of it from the British, Russians, and Afghans themselves. So I guess is it the Ottoman Empire? I'm really ignorant of the area. Like had just dissolved and lost control of Afghanistan. So it was like a fight over the resources there. And a lot of people think Afghanistan is not a wealthy country with like resources, but they do have a lot of like lush valleys and some resources to fight over. So and the trade routes that was important, as I recall. Now that's just my very brief, basic Wikipedia reading of it. So
hey, that's more than I knew just a minute ago. So that's good.
Yeah, but it's really neat, and it's got all these historical figures and landmarks and some events that happen. So it's a neat game. Like I'm really impressed with it. Makes me want to check out the other Paxes, but I know those are those are the Phil Eklund ones that probably a little too much for me. But I do want to check them out, and I'm curious if Whirligig, I guess is the name of the Cole's company, if he's going to do any more conversions into or streamlining, Neat. But it's hard, right? Because there's so much in those games. Like even this one is it's definitely like one of those top tier gamer games, right? Like it's got a lot going on. So if you're not focused on it, it's going to pass you by, right? You're going to be like, what's going on? Yeah.
Awesome.
I like that for a tagline.
On the box, Aldi says, what's going on?
Yeah, you got to keep track.
Moving on from what we played, we can look ahead to the Spiel des Jahres announcement. So on July 22nd, the winners of the Spiel des Jahres and the Kenner Spiel des Jahres will be announced. So we can just take a moment to talk about who we think is going to win.
Predictions.
So the nominees for Kenner Spiel, we'll start with that first. Kenner Spiel, Wingspan, Detective, and Carpe Diem. Lincoln, you want to start since you've already been open and public with your vote?
The one that I would, in our show, we talk about what we would pick, and the one that I wanted to pick would be Wingspan. I really like Carpe Diem, but for whatever reason, Wingspan is super compelling. Like, really beautiful production, fun mechanisms. I've seen some people like, it's boring, but I mean, not every game's for everybody, but I really like the mechanisms, and it's a lot of fun. So not only is it the one that I would pick, I think it's the one that's the jury's going to pick. I don't really know. Don't have a beat on the jury at all. But it'd be interesting. I mean, it's a really fantastic, beautiful production, and the table presence alone is unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree that Wingspan is really cool. My preference is Carpe Diem, I think. For me. Just because it's a little more puzzly or trying to like get those tiles, and I am a big fan of tile placement anyway, so.
As is Nikki, yeah.
Yeah.
Scott, What's your vote?
Much like Steph, I want Carpe Diem to win for a gamer, but I think Wingspan is going to win just because it's just so fantastic, right? It's a lot of fantastic things about Wingspan. Personally, I prefer the gameplay of Carpe Diem. Wingspan is going to win.
You're so sure about that.
Eric, what do you think? Wrap it up.
That's what I would say as well. I have played only Carpe Diem out of those three, and yet Wingspan will definitely win. Absolutely. It has a more attractive presentation. It has a good story behind it. It's been pretty much, I don't want to say universally liked because, yes, some people have said it's boring, there's not enough to it, but I think those gamers are above the experience level that the Spiel des Jahres jury is aiming for. They're aiming at people who are familiar with Spiel des Jahres games and want something a little bit more.
Yep, that Wingspan is that.
Wingspan is just like, it's going to sell itself just on the look of it. And so that will be a big part of the appeal. Once again.
We'll be auctioning this copy off. This it's not us actually doing the auction. Deborah Ann Wall, who's on the episode, her and her husband do auctions for blindness charities, and we've all signed it, and I believe Deborah will be signing it as well. So please bid on that. It's for a very, very good cause. Two very good causes.
As for Spiel des Jahres, we have the nominees Just One, Werewords, and Llama. Lincoln, you want to start again?
I really love Just One. Actually, I think all three games are really fun. If I'm going to be truthful, I would rather probably play Just One. That's the one I would pick myself to win. But I think because of player counts and ease of play, I think Llama's going to win. I think the jury's going to pick it. I don't know that I'm correct on that, but the others don't play well with smaller groups necessarily. Now, you can play both of them with fewer player counts, but I don't think the joy comes from those until you have more. So that's just my, armchair quarterbacking of the thing. I don't really know for sure, but I really like Llama. Before we filmed the episode, I made everybody sit down and play a game in multiple player counts before. And everybody's like, you come out of nowhere saying that this is going to win. I'm like, I was telling everybody to try the game. That's where I feel maybe it's going to go. I want to see its appeal. And I really had fun. We played it with 2 and played it with 3. We played it with 5. I still haven't played it with 6, but I had a really good time playing it. It's just a different light game. I basically was following your model, Eric. I feel you need to play those games in multiple player counts to truly get a feel for what they offer. And we spoke about your efforts on the video too, because I think it really helps. Well, particularly you had a really great video that was in depth about it, and you and I had talked about it at Origins, Spring. I believe, yeah, and BGG Spring probably too. But I think the game's really good, and it's potentially what the jury might want to have. Right? It's a true wide appeal game that I don't know. Who knows?
It's the barest step up from Uno that I think could possibly exist.
Right.
I mean, there's almost nothing to it in terms of the rules and what you have to learn. Right? The cards are 1 to 6. You've got llamas. You play a card that matches what's on the top of the discard pile or one higher.
It's the points, though, that make that game. The tokens, it's like a huge thing about that game. It really is. It's exciting. Like, you're just desperate to get rid of that black chip. It's just, I don't know. And truthfully, you get dealt a bad hand of cards. What are you going to do, right? I mean, it's tough. But I do have a good time playing it.
But even a bad hand of cards is usually because you got swamped with one number. And so if you can ditch a few of those other, and you have just that one number, you're just like, all right, fine, I eat 5 points. And that's that. I don't know. I agree with you that the player count issue favors Llama, even though Llama with 2 is kind of a different game altogether, and I do not recommend starting with 2 players.
Sure, but I had a great time playing 2.
I did too, but that was after playing with more, and so you had a sense of the game already, because the 2-player one is much more about reading the other player exactly and what they can possibly do. Whereas with more people, you have more time.
Well, the second the other player drafts a card, you're like, oh, you know what I mean? You pray that you could do that. It's like, my thing is if they can't play that, I'll do everything I can either to go out or play something that doesn't help them. You know what I mean? Right. It's pretty fantastic. I do think it's a great game.
Maybe Steph and Scott should contribute to this conversation too.
Well, I happen to love your passion for that game. That's awesome.
You don't love the game, though.
I'm not. It's not really my cup of tea. Even
what do you
though
mean?
it has
Colors,
all the
rainbows.
Yeah, I know. I wanted so badly to love it. So I guess my vote would be for Werewords because I've never had a poor experience with Werewords. There's always something. I always have stories from my Werewords plays.
That's cool.
There's even one. So if you don't know the game, it's like a werewolf kind of thing, but you're using words. But there was one game where the person who was the mayor had to pick the word, and by the end of the app saying "Everybody close your eyes, now you can open your eyes," he had forgot the word. So he's like, "We have to start again." So we had to start the whole game over because
Mr. Short-term memory.
Short-term. And I'm just like, what? How do you forget the word? You literally just picked this word. I don't know.
Werewolf goldfish.
So it's just like, oh my gosh. So like the whole table is always laughing in that game. It's just I can't go wrong with that with Werewords at all.
What do you think, Scott?
I think Just One is going to win. So we've all picked different. Oh, Eric, you haven't picked yet, but let's say Just One. I've had so many great times with Just One. I can't imagine it not winning. And playing with people I don't know, right? Like played at a convention, played a bunch of people I don't know, still had a great time, lots of laughs. Werewords, not so much. I've had great times within my group of people who all know each other. As soon as I went outside that circle, like I took Werewords around the year it came out at BGG Con and tried to get a bunch of groups to play it. It fell flat every time. Don't know why. Yeah, it's just like super.
I played it with mostly just the people, my group of friends. So it could just be, yeah. That's
its slight flaw because I think the way the jury tests is they test with random people, right?
Interesting.
And when you don't see it working, you're like, it can't work. Now, that's not saying it happens all the time.
It got nominated. Right,
but I would nominate it too because I think it's a great game for people who know each other. Because it's very hard to lie to someone you don't know. It's very hard to like try to if you're just going to play it like one time, that first impression until you get it doesn't work, right? You can't.
You need the repeat plays.
You have to play it once or two, three. Heck, I don't even think I got it really working right for me until like 4 or 5 times. But then after that, it's like genius, right? Because everybody gets into it, everybody starts understanding it. But there's a high level to overcome there, unless you're just like really experienced with these kinds of games, which I don't think most people are because werewolf, it's not mainstream. Just One works with high age ranges. I would think down to 7 or 8. Like anything below that doesn't.
All 3 games are 8 and up.
8 and up. Okay, well that works. So, and Llama, I like Llama. I think it's fine, but I don't think it's a Spiel des Jahres is like super best game of the year. Yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Agreed. I mean, I pick Just One. It's a fun game. I really have a great time. But I'm just looking at the weirdness of that.
Yeah, but you're right. And I think that is almost probably the cincher for Llama. But I'm going to still say Just One because Llama can play with 2 people. None of the other ones can.
Right.
Eric, take us home.
I'm a Llama guy.
Llama all the way.
The player count is a big issue, and it's interesting that they would nominate Just One and Werewords with that as a concern, because normally you think of the games being aimed at the 2 to 4 player range, and here they went wide out with 2 of those titles, where you can go up to 7 or 8 players on them,
or higher, 20, I believe, in Werewords, right? So
yeah, you could play.
Probably. I don't know if the Ravensburger one is also 20. So the German edition, I don't recall it having the same player count, but could be wrong there.
Okay.
So it would be like 18.
But Llama just seems, again, it's sort of that step up from the game that every single person knows. And it's just a little bit more. It's a little twist that you'll have on something familiar. And so the potential audience is almost even larger than a normal Spiel des Jahres title.
It's funny, though, because like we played Hoyle Doch, this Mau Mau, the same time. We've got both those games. Yep. I like that game more. I think it has kind of the similar things going on, but I don't know. It's weird. There's a bunch of omissions in the nominations this year that I think surprise me. Hadara is another game that I really, really love, and I don't even think it got recommended this year, which is weird. Who knows?
Did it make the cut? Like
no.
I can't recall whether it was actually out by the end of March, because that's usually the cutoff date.
I'm pretty sure it was available. The reason beyond that, Moritz was talking about like he was hoping it was going to get nominated. I mean, that was the whole reason why we sat down and played it in advance, and the jury was there.
Yep.
It was available for it. It may not have made it here. I don't know, but
no, it's not even out here yet.
I know.
Yeah. What about Dizzle?
Oh yeah, Dizzle. But Dizzle's recommended.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, it's at least recommended.
It's almost there, but I liked it better than Llama. Although I really hope for Reiner to win.
So interesting thing about, you mentioned playing Rare Words and it took you like 5 tries to really sort of have it gel. And Just One has said kind of that same thing where often you just give up on points. Like you're not playing for points, you just play continuously.
Yeah, the experience.
I've always played for points. I don't know why everybody says, like, I always play full games. I don't know.
I always play the full game too.
There has to be something at stake to make you not just guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for just free for all, whatever, fine. But like, if there's nothing at stake, you just guess every time. Right?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Okay.
But that's after we play the game for real.
Yeah, maybe so. The difference, Llama has those multiple rounds as part of the game, and I think it helps because it changes the nature of gameplay where different things matter to you at different times, depending on whatever your situation is. And definitely with more players, you get different experiences where sometimes, it's just me and Lincoln left, or it's 3 of us sort of battling. And I don't know, it has a different feel for each round of play, where it also has a larger arc over the entire game.
I think all the nominees this year were really, really great. It's just, it's disappointing when a game that you're rooting for doesn't get nominated. Nikki was going on about Museum. I'm like, Nikki, it only just came out. I don't imagine it was even possible to get nominated.
Not even out in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, but that's okay. I mean, they could have because I had mentioned in our discussion video, Crass Career kind of has finally got like some recognition in the States anyway. It probably was doing fine in Germany, but that was another really fun game as well. It's, the whole thing is like, we think that maybe they wouldn't pick a game that has too many player count, but this could be the year, right? I mean, there's always that year that finally breaks the mold, and that they finally award that game, that type of game, and that makes, because Dave was talking about Detective, because I really love Detective, but he feels it's like too weird to win. It's kind of like in his case, he was talking about Time Stories. But this could be the year that it wins, right? That type of game wins, and then it starts to, then it makes it so that's potentially available as well. You don't think so? Okay.
I don't think so.
It's a great game.
The comparison to Time Stories is apt also because that same year, Pandemic Legacy was nominated.
And didn't win.
And didn't win. And the two of them seemed like they were sort of, we are going to honor your accomplishment for delivering this interesting, unique game.
But you're not going to win the award. But that's what the Mind was last year too.
Yeah, we're not going to recommend it to general audiences who are like, oh yeah, you have to play this game 12 to 24 times. I'm just telling you in advance, to really get the most out of it, play it that many times. I mean, I don't know if a casual audience is going to be like, sure.
It doesn't mean it couldn't win though, right? I mean, this is the thing. We don't really know. The jury's different this year. It's got some new people. There might be some different people and influential voices going on, right? It could all be different. I think this is going to be an interesting year to see what actually wins. It's I don't know. I think all the games deserve to win. So no matter how it goes, I'll be happy. Yeah. Although we got the stupid list that we track everybody how they're doing on the wins with I hate it. I mean, it's like I only like getting it correct just so that those guys don't get it, right? That's all that I want. I mean, it doesn't matter. Okay. But yeah, all those stat keepers, stat keepers drive me crazy.
That's fair.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, we've got a wide variety of choices here. We didn't all pick one thing.
Two of us picked Llama this time on that one.
Two Llama, two Werewolves, just one, and then for Kenner, I picked. We all picked Wingspan, right?
Except for Steph, she picked.
Steph picked Carpe Diem. All right. Yep. Well, we'll see next week.
It'd be nice if Stefan Feld won too. I mean, it's cool. Sure. All of them deserve.
I want everybody to win.
Yeah,
everybody's a winner.
Everybody's a winner.
So cliche.
It sounds very American to say that.
One person is a winner, 2 are losers.
Right.
Last year in the Kenner, though, there was two people.
Okay, it's true. It could happen.
So there was 1 loser and 1 winner last year.
That's fair.
That's right.
Right.
That's fair.
But is it like they're 1 winner and everybody else is a loser?
Well, we just said everybody's a winner. Now we're that's why we're even discussing.
Everybody thinks they're going to win. By the way,
wait,
they all think they're going to win.
But Michael Kiesling won for Azul, so he was still a winner.
It's true. It's
not
true.
a winner on the
It's so true.
level. So.
He's a winner.
It's down
and a
to
loser.
2 guys.
One more thing, because I think if you are into these kind of games and don't back this on Kickstarter, you will be sad, because I doubt this game will ever come to retail. It's just so ginormous. It is Madara, the I have to read this. Unintentional. God, it's such a weird name. Unintentional Malum, the complete trilogy. Currently sitting at 2.2 million raised, probably 10,000 backers at this point. If you're into dungeon crawl games and with heavy story and lots of interesting characters, back this game. That's it.
You already have it, right? You backed it previously, and you backed it again, right?
I backed it on the first campaign, and it's phenomenal. I'm only thinking that they will make it even better. I backed it again to get all this new stuff. But it's a monster game. It's like at least 80 hours. The campaign book is at least 2 to 3 inches thick. It's got one of those red magnifying glass things, which by the way, I suggest buying the Amazon handheld red magnifying glass, because it's pretty hard to read. But that won't matter for like at least another year or so, because that's when the game will come out. But it's cool. I guess that's all I can say about it. I've talked about it before, previous episode. So
yeah, but I mean, it's exciting that right when it was shipped to backers. Basically, it finally went to Kickstarter again. It
was very late. I think a lot of people didn't think it was going to finally get here, but it's finally here. So yeah, it was a super late one. I'm guessing maybe a
lot of development, probably.
I don't know what went wrong. I don't read update emails for Kickstarters. I need my own time. Otherwise, I'd be reading emails all day long. It's like update. It'd be too many. So, all right. Closing note. The next BGG show will be on Thursday, August 1st. Live on Twitch, right? Are we doing that?
At Gen Con.
Yeah,
at Gen Con.
We'll post it the following week, but we will be live that week. So we'll have 2 BGG shows in a row, essentially, after that on YouTube. But we will be live streaming.
And I would be remiss to not mention our live stream, which we didn't really talk about at the top of the show. Live streaming for 4 days from Gen Con. How's the schedule looking, Eric?
Steph has a better idea. I think we're about 2/3 full.
Yeah,
3/4.
Okay. Definitely. It's filling up fast. I mean, people are slowly coming in at the last minute, but I mean, they're going to miss out if they wait much longer. So
yeah. I mean, we have plenty of things to fill the time. There's lots of people with prototypes or things that they will release at Spiel who would like to get on camera, and we keep saying like, well, we want to make sure that we highlight games that are newly released. So right now, there's a big reserve list of people to call on in case there's spaces.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
all right. Well, that wraps up this quick episode of the Board Game Geek Show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We really appreciate the comments and the feedback and the thumbs. And I would also like to thank my lovely co-hosts, Linga Damerst, Steph Hodge, W. Eric Martin. I'm Scott Alden.
Bye, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
Gen Con! Here we come.
That's right. Some new duds.
Bye.